You can't have him.
You're only delaying the inevitable, I'm afraid.
Okay, it is time to give the devil its due. Okay, that's a bit too harsh, but I get the impression people think I'm a bit hostile towards Season 6 of Charmed, and that's not actually the case.
I'd be happier just forgetting, I think, at this point.
I love every Charmed season, and even though 6 is my least favourite, there's still lots to love. Paige's hair, for one, is gorgeous, and I was very salty that she went back brown halfway through the season and didn't at least wait until the next one. I actually don't mind Chris as a character, especially once they decide on him being Piper and Leo's kid from the future. And Brian Krause had steadily been coming into his own ever since season 4, but 6 is where he really got to act.
Very, very sad.
And just like every other Charmed season, it still contains its fair share of episodes that aren't just watchable, but ones I enjoy. And did someone say dragon?
Phoebe, there's a dragon loose in the city!
Did you say dragon?
We get a really cool cold open where the Halliwells are fleeing from these two magical beings who must have very good dry cleaners judging from how white those things are.
Now, if you don't mind, we have a lot of cleaning to do.
These guys are the cleaners, and their job is to clean up magical exposure risks, which we will get to, don't worry. They take baby Wyatt away and make everyone forget he ever existed. This has the side effect of the sisters forgetting everything they did yesterday, but there is some evidence, such as Phoebe having a bruise on her forehead and one angry Elise threatening to fire her, and Paige having a coffee stain and a distressed co-worker she was supposed to help. So it's time for a spell to rewind the day and retrace their steps.
Help us remember what somebody obviously wants us to forget.
Phoebe's injury came about because of her empathy powers making her start a riot in her workplace, and Paige was supposed to help said co-worker deal with a sleazeball of a boss. But what takes priority in the proceedings is Wyatt using his powers to summon a dragon out of the TV and it causing a field day for those exposure cleanup dudes.
Giant bird, which one witness went on record as saying shot fire out of its mouth at cars like a dragon.
So yeah, let's start with those big, squeaky clean, pearly white elephants in the attic and talk about the cleaners.
When magic is exposed, we're the ones who cover it up.
They're not well liked by a lot of fans, since their MO is that they're meant to step in and erase any potential exposure risks of magic, and they were never mentioned before this. And since they say they've always been watching the sisters, and Leo knows of them, we can't handwave them being a new entity they've just not heard of. And of course, the Season 3 finale dealt with magic being exposed on the 11 o'clock news, with the only solution being said to be Tempest rewinding the day. And the numerous other episodes where magic was exposed to a human or two. But while I wouldn't call the cleaners the best monster of the week the show ever did, I can just about headcanon my way around many of these questions.
Well, we won't have to if you can eliminate the exposure risk.
First of all, the cleaners say they haven't intervened before because...
Based upon your past success in covering up your own magic,
and since the process involves wiping a load of people's memories and doesn't seem to be exactly foolproof, like White Lighter's memory dust, I can assume it's very much a last resort. The people who magic was exposed to either got killed before they could squeal, or else could be trusted to keep the secret. Plus, someone who simply knows about magic and has no proof would easily be dismissed as crazy and not a serious threat of exposure. And considering that this was the early 2000s with the internet up and running and live television everywhere, it's possible that the cleaners had never had to deal with an incident this big before. After all, the sisters' powers were bound in 1975 and not awakened until 1998. And it's not until after that that more powerful demons and other enemies started coming after them. And think of the advances in technology between the 70s and the 2000s. In All Hell Breaks Loose, magic was exposed on live TV instantly, so they might not have had the power to do something on that scale.
200,000 viewers saw it live.
Within a few hours, they might have to memory wipe the whole world. In Season 8, the Elders tell Paige that that kind of memory wiping is impossible. Getting one demon to do his thing and rewind the day to prevent the exposure from happening probably seemed like an easier solution. And in that event, removing the exposure risk would require erasing Prue and Piper. And what does Piper say when the cleaners threaten to erase them?
See, if you get rid of us, you tip the balance of power from good to evil, and now that's hardly being neutral now, is it?
Yeah, boys, try erasing the charmed ones and see how well that goes down upstairs.
What's to stop them from erasing us? They wouldn't dare.
And they couldn't intervene to prevent Prue's death because that would be favouring good over evil. So all in all, it's just about plausible with the show's logic.
So, let's give them something to clean up.
Forget Me Not is very much a standalone episode, since Season 6 was still transitioning away from how 5 brought things back to self-contained stories, and the only arc progression is the hint that Chris only came back in time because of Wyatt.
I'm here to protect Wyatt.
But what have we often said about standalone episodes on this channel?
Do you think maybe you could come with me?
Of course, absolutely.
We learn a little bit about Paige here, see Phoebe enjoy hilarity, and experience Piper rising to the occasion. Okay, obviously this episode skewers more towards Piper's story, so we'll start with her.
Wyatt conjured a dragon.
Yep.
Oh, you must be so proud.
Yeah, or a little irritated.
Now, as a single mother to an all-powerful baby, she experiences a worst-case scenario when she leaves Wyatt alone for a moment and feels like failure for a mistake happening that she tells herself she should have been able to prevent, which I'm sure many parents can relate to.
Did I forget how to be a mommy too?
But of course, a Halliwell mother is a resilient being, and she learns that it's not the making the mistake in the first place that matters, but in how you deal with it.
There is a way. You just have to find it.
But how?
I don't know. But if anybody can find it, you can.
Piper has to have confidence in her motherly bond with Wyatt, and that she can solve this problem on her own, which she does in the end.
So you're saying he vanquished the dragon and you knew he was gonna do it?
I'm sure if there was a Charmed One parenting book, you'd be sure to find a chapter advising you to walk right up to a dragon to make your mischievous son get rid of the problem and prioritize his mother's safety.
Well, I was hoping he wouldn't want anything bad to happen to me.
A lot of fans really come down hard on Piper for the end of this episode, saying she should have just bound Wyatt's powers and that it was irresponsible of her to not restrict them in some way.
How do you know you'll be able to control him?
I'm his mother.
But actually, I'm on her side with this. One of the things video games have taught us in the last 3 decades is that it matters more when someone is given the choice to be good and chooses that, rather than having it forced on them. Children have to be taught how to walk, speak, and do other basic functions we don't think twice about as adults, so a magical one should be taught how to control their powers and use them wisely.
If anybody can, I can.
Piper choosing to raise Wyatt with his powers, while teaching him the correct way to use them, will result in a child, and eventually an adult, who is very powerful, but will only use his abilities to protect the innocent and do good things, rather than for evil or personal gain.
How did you become such an optimist?
From you, Mom.
The sisters themselves were badly affected by having an entire life without magic, so that when they finally got their powers back, not only were they struggling to catch up and defend themselves from each new enemy of the week, they had gotten so used to not having powers that they defaulted to magic being a quick fix for any problem or inconvenience that arises, which is where a good 30% of the show's conflict comes from. And future episodes validate Piper's methods, since Wyatt is able to heal her from her injuries in The 7-Year Witch, and Chris is able to orb a disempowered Wyatt home in Kill Billy Volume 2, and considering that the season's main antagonist turns out to be someone that afraid of what kind of tyrant Wyatt might grow up to be, the show obviously isn't ignorant of the potential consequences that might result from Piper's decision.
Good luck. Because believe me, you're going to need it.
Moving on to the other sisters, we get some fun comedy hijinks involving Phoebe's newfound magical empathy power.
Okay, number one, I haven't actually verbalized guilt yet, so in the future, let me confess before you analyze.
Right.
Unlike when Prue got them in Primrose Empath, Phoebe receives them naturally, and thus is able to use them without going mad, but that doesn't mean she can't entertain us all with how she adjusts.
Bitch! Phoebe, no! Phoebe, no!
This episode's incident occurs when she channels a co-worker's desire to punch Elise at the office, which has a domino effect to cringe comedy gold.
Oh no, did I do all of this?
The days when mass GBH was played for laughs. I also think this is the first episode I've done featuring Elise Rothman, who was always a supporting character I liked.
I never realized she knew so many little people, though.
Introduced as the boss from hell in Season 4 and slowly softening towards Phoebe across the series, to the degree that in her faked death she confesses...
She was the daughter I never...
Rest in peace, Rebecca Balding. I always loved your work.
Not to mention...
Yeah, that does look like it hurts a lot.
Paige's subplot. Well, besides the yikes in having Rose McGowan act out a scenario like this, all I can really say about the execution is...
Oh, how quaint!
I think this part of the boys is more likely how that situation would have gone.
Especially since you attacked me.
I what?
Yeah, look.
But at least we get to see more of Paige just being a good altruistic soul.
Thank you. Thank you.
There was a weird collection of detractors against her for this temping subplot. mocking her for forgetting that she used to be a social worker, and, like, that's not the point.
I came to the agency, I really went with the idea that I would be, helping people.
She didn't go back to work because she wanted a job. She wanted to reconnect with the non-magical world and try new things, hence the temping. And she stays at it for a while because she notices that each place she goes to usually involves an innocent who needs helping. In this case, that would be Flo.
I was wondering why I took this job, and now I know.
Elsewhere, I really have to praise the pacing and direction of this episode. Even if the writing could suffer from season 5 onward, the production values and overall execution of the episodes were of a consistently high standard.
Oh, I think we still have a few surprises that you don't know about.
One of the reasons I rag on season 2 a lot is because the ingredients are often there. For example, P3H2O is a great concept in theory, in that the sisters must confront the demon that killed their mother, but the execution is often where it falls short. Whether it be poor direction or not utilizing the concept to its full potential, I can be left with a feeling that amounts to, that's it.
Piper, what's the matter? I've had it.
These procedural episodes, on the other hand, may have simple concepts, but the execution is done tidily, and more often than not, that's what I'm here for. And yes, I am not ignoring that CGI representing the dragon, but since the beast got conjured from a movie, I can happily handwave it as being some kind of Sci-Fi Channel B-movie with in-universe bad effects. Still though, it's fun to see the sisters go to places like the highway and this site for the wreckage, especially since the budget restrictions in later seasons meant less scenes out on location. As much as I come down on season 6, it is the last Charmed year before they had to really start recycling sets. You're a show about magic, so if you at least make your episode fun to watch, that's half the battle already.
I don't know what's happening here.
Well, it's called magic, Kenesha.
So there we go. I went and talked positively about a season 6 episode, and it's far from the only one that year that I can say good things about.
Phoebe!
Even if it is my least favourite of the seasons, it is still Charmed at the end of the day, and it provides plenty to love, including Paige's hair. There's also something kind of brilliant in how an episode involving forgetting magic helps allow Brad Kern procrastinate any serious arc progression on what Chris's role actually is.
Why exactly did you come back from the future in the first place?
Drew Fuller didn't even know what it was at this point. T-shirts and boxes is all you Chris fans get, but seek out a film called Voodoo Academy if you really need your needs met. Sorry, I must have started this conclusion about 5 times already by now. So yeah, good writing, yes really, good direction, fine performances, lovely wardrobes all around, and plenty of laughs that actually land.
Oh, he was using protection.
Yeah, I don't think that's what he meant.
Forget you? I sure won't be anytime soon.